Hello friends and fellow seekers of the good, true, beautiful. It's Mike here, and welcome to Identity Matters. You know, as a coach over the last 20 years, I've had, hundreds of people come to me with a problem that they really want to solve. That makes a lot of sense. That's a lot of the reason people come to coaching. They have some intractable issue in their life that is keeping them from the life that they want or keeping them from a goal they want to achieve. And they've gotten stuck in their attempts to try to resolve that issue or conquer that problem or overcome that struggle. And so a lot of the work that we do in coaching is to find ways to creatively approach problems in ways that the client hasn't thought of before. So I want to talk to you today about two mindsets that are dominant within human behavior when it comes to addressing challenges. One of them is called the reactive mindset, and one of them is called the creative mindset. And I want to try to convince you why the creative mindset is actually far superior to the reactive mindset, even though the reactive mindset is far more prevalent, far more ubiquitous in the culture, and is far easier to slip into for most of us all the time. So let me try to explain the difference between the two by telling you a true story of what happened to me years ago when I was trying to learn how to snowboard through the trees. So this was, maybe over a decade ago. I was up on Copper Mountain here in Colorado, and I'd been snowboarding for a while, but I was trying to learn to master this particular skill of going down through a grove of trees. These conifers, they're towering conifers that were pretty close together. And I'd watched other snowboarders do this, and it just looks so cool to be able to kind of whoosh down through the trees and experience that kind of rush and that free flow back and forth as they went from the top of the mountain down through the bottom through the grove of trees. And I thought this would be just a beautiful thing to do. And it looked really fairly simple. You just kind of learned how to move your body just right and you could do it. But for whatever reason, as I attempted to do it, I would get past the first tree, maybe the second tree, and then like clockwork, I would just barrel right into the third tree every time. Whatever tree I was aiming for, trying to get by, I would just fall into the well of that tree. If you don't know what that means, it means like right around every tree, when there's snow on the ground, there's like this well of snow around the tree, and I would just go right into that well and just sink right into it. And this happened, 10, 12 different times, and me going up the lift, down the lift, up the lift, and trying to get past these trees. Now, thankfully, I had a buddy with me who was a better snowboarder than I was by far, and he had no trouble. He was just zipping right through these trees, no problem at all, over and over again, very patient with me as I was trying to figure out how to master this skill. And so finally, I humbled myself enough to say, hey, buddy, would you mind this time? Would you mind staying with me and just like maybe going alongside or staying behind me and watching what I'm doing and see if you can help me understand what I'm doing wrong? Because for some reason, I cannot seem to master this skill of snowboarding through these trees. And he said, sure. So we got up to the top of the lift. I got to the top of the grove, and then off I go, and really trying my best to just go between the trees. And so I go past one, I go past two, I almost get past the third one, but sure enough, slam right into the tree. And as I'm digging out of the tree, he's right there next to me, and he says, I know exactly what you're doing. And I'm like, great, what am I doing? And he said, you're looking at the trees. I'm like, well, of course I'm looking at the trees. I'm trying to avoid the trees, so I'm watching where they are so I can miss them. And he's like, no. You go where you're looking. So you have to look between the trees. You have to keep your focus on the spaces between the trees. You don't look at the trees. You look at the spaces between them. And that's how you snowboard through the trees. And I was like, kind of obvious in hindsight, but I didn't think of it until then. And I'm like, that's brilliant. So go back up to the top of the lift. And the next time I just kept my vision focused on the spaces between the trees, and suddenly it was like magic. I could just go between the trees, no problem. My body went where my eyes focused. And I was able to go right through the grove, no trouble, brilliant. And from that day until this, I've been able to snowboard through the trees. This is a brilliant illustration, I think, of the difference between a reactive mindset and a creative mindset. So the reactive mindset, which is the mindset that most of us have most of the time when we step out into the world, is basically a mindset that is looking for a problem that it needs to solve. In fact, the dominant question of the reactive mindset is, where is the problem and how do I solve it? We go out into the world, we're looking for the fire that we need to put out, we're looking for the thing, the squeaky wheel, we're trying to figure out where the potential danger is that we have to address. And so our eyes are constantly scanning the environment for the thing that is wrong or out of place or isn't right or a potential threat. And that's what we're focused on, and that's what we aim for, and that's what we're trying to resolve. And many people, for most of their entire lives, go through their lives this way. And in fact, if you read many books on leadership or on influence, they'll be about this. You probably even heard the phrase that leadership is essentially problem solving. And of course, I don't agree with that. I think the leadership 101 might be problem solving, but all great leaders know that that is just the very fundamental basics of leadership. That's low-level leadership. Because what the creative mindset does, it doesn't look at the grove of trees, if the trees are all problems you're trying to solve. It doesn't look at the grove of trees and focus on the trees. It focuses on what it is trying to create, which is it's trying to create a path to the bottom of the mountain, right? That's the goal. It's looking at what it wants to create in the world, the end result it wants to build, and it uses the environment to accomplish its goal. So the problems are still there. Nothing has changed about the environment at all, but the focus of the person trying to get through that environment has shifted entirely. So the reactive mindset is a mindset that is back on its heels. It's when you're back on your heels all the time. You're always in a state of reacting to things that are in the environment coming at you or that are in your way. You are never the one who is acting or who is initiating. You're always the one who is reacting to things that are acting on you. Therefore, you're not in a initiatory creative state. You're in a reactive state all the time. And when you're in that state, it's very difficult to be a creator, to be someone who is actually manifesting something or creating something in the world, because you're basically always at the net, hitting balls back that are being shot at you from some other force. The creative state, by contrast, is the one that has an image in mind of what it wants to build or make or create or make happen out in the world. And that is the thing it is keeping on its mind, is keeping focused, and is keeping in its vision. And all of its choices are aimed toward getting to that goal. And if there are obstacles in the way, which there inevitably are, rather than make those the aim or the point or the thing you're focused on, your intention is to figure out how to either work around it or how to use it or how to go through it if you have to, in order to continue your progress toward the thing you're actually trying to create. In this way, you are able to do much more creative thinking, much more innovative work in the world than if you're just reacting all the time. So one of those mindsets is more passive, one is more active, one is reactive, one is proactive. I think you get the difference. The problem is that things are always going to be coming at us in life that we don't expect. that are surprising or threatening or that scare us. And every time that happens, our minds, our brains, automatically flip into a reactive mindset. So we're hardwired to actually go to reactivity when there is a potential threat in our environment. That means that we stop looking at what the goal is, what the thing is we're trying to create, and we start looking at the tree or whatever the thing is that has gotten in our way. It's a natural human response. And sometimes it is the correct response. If you're out hiking on a trail somewhere and a mama bear comes on the trail, it is the proper response to stop thinking about your hike and start thinking about the bear. That's a proper response to that, and you need to react to that. The problem with that is that for most of us, it's very, very easy to have that reactive state become habitual, that we end up getting stuck in that reactive state because there's a kind of an adrenaline rush to it. Like, oh, there's a threat, and then we deal with the threat and we're like, where's the other threat? And we start looking around for all the other threats, and then our whole life becomes kind of a batting away threats sort of life. And by the end of the day, we feel this sense of accomplishment, not because we moved toward a great goal that we have or a dream that we have, but because we swatted away 20 different threats that were coming against our comfort zone or coming against our sense of peace. And that becomes, over time, if we're not careful, that becomes a life. And that is not the most powerful way to create a life, because each one of us has access to much more creativity than that within our prefrontal cortex. And I say prefrontal cortex because when we go into the reactive mode, our minds shift back to this rear part of the brain where our amygdala resides. And our amygdala is basically our fight, flight, or freeze response. And so in that space, we don't think as creatively as we do when we're up here. So back there, it's really just, are you a threat or an ally? And are you good or evil? Are you right or wrong? Are you something I need to attack or run away from, or just be still and wait till you pass? It's a very simplified way of thinking, and we move into a kind of binary way of thinking, actually. And what you see even today in our culture is that we're in a collective reactive state most of the time. And that's why it's hard for us to think in nuance as a culture right now, where we think in very binary terms. It's either this or that. It's either right or wrong. It's either, one way or the other. When in fact, the actual landscape of the world is quite nuanced and has a lot of grays and has a lot of different shades of color. But those things are very, very difficult to see or to parse or to navigate when you're operating from this part of your intelligence. So the trick is not to avoid being reactive, because you can't. You're always going to fall into reactivity. The trick is, though, to begin to pay attention to when you go into reactive mode, and to, as quickly as possible, get out of that mode as soon as you can and back into a creative stance. So I want to give you essentially two tricks, two ways to hack your own mind so that you can get out of the reactive state and back into the creative state as quickly as possible, right? So one of them is just a question. But the other, you're going to have to do some work on yourself to figure out what your methodologies are. So the question is a powerful question of, what do I want to create right now? So when you're in a reactive state, remember the dominant question is always, where's the problem and how do I solve it? Where's the fire I need to put out? Where's the thing I need to swat away? So it's always about this reactivity to something coming at you. And the question that you want to be asking as soon as you can is, wait a minute, rather than me swatting against things that are coming at me, what is it that I want to create right now in this space? What is it that I want to create right now today? What is it that I want to create in this situation? It could be in any context that you're in, and it could be I want to create a different atmosphere here. I want to create something physical in the world. I want to create an experience for myself. I want to reach a goal. I want to achieve a certain end. I want to put my focus back on the thing I'm aiming for and not on all these obstacles. Like, just a reorientation to a creative mindset is, what is it I want to create? Remind myself of that, and let's aim for that, right? So that question takes you out of this space and into this space up here. That can help. But the other thing is that sometimes when we get in our reactive state, it becomes entrenched. It's very difficult for us to get out of it because we start to be hypervigilant in our reactivity, and we're just wondering, where's the next bear on the trail? When is the next tree going to show up in my path? And we have a hard time stopping the reactive spinning that's happening in our minds. And in that situation, you need to find out what are the ways that you can hack your own physiology, because it is kind of a physical reaction you're having, to calm back down and move back into your creative mind. Some examples of what that might be are simply sitting still and breathing deeply for about 5 minutes. Breathing deep breaths activate your parasympathetic nervous system. They allow your body to relax and kind of come back into a place of, you're okay, there's no danger, there's no gun pointing at your head, there's no bear on the trail anymore, you can relax. So just stop and breathe deeply in a quiet place. It might be listening to music, it might be journaling, writing down, just letting your thoughts pour out on the page. It might be going for a walk, doing something where you're using both sides of your body and kind of recalibrating your system a little bit, or going for a run. It might be doing a workout. Could be a lot of different things like that that are physical. If you have a pastime where you're engaging your body and turning your mind off, something automatic that's kind of like fishing, or the meditative activity like that, that can be a great thing to do. It could be a prayer, or some other kind of spiritual practice that you have that can help you do that. You need to figure out what are the activities that you need to do that will help you de-escalate your reactivity to come back into a place of neutrality so that you can step back into a creative mindset. You need to know what those are, so that as soon as you recognize that you're in a reactive cycle and you feel stuck in that cycle, you can take actions that will get you back to neutral and then step back into creativity. Otherwise, you will find yourself stuck in that reactive state, sometimes for days or weeks at a time. And that reactive state will not allow you to be as creative, as innovative, or as productive as you could otherwise be toward creating the life that you actually want, toward accomplishing the goals that you actually want to accomplish. This is something that all great leaders know, that they cannot be spending their energy in reactivity all the time. If they're in reactivity all the time, they don't have access to their most creative potential. They're always putting out fires. They're not actually spending their time thinking creatively about what they want to create in the world, what they want to make real in the world. So you need to be thinking about, how do you spend more time in your creative mind than in your reactive mind? This can mean, for a lot of people, reordering your life to have fewer potential bears on the trail, fewer potential trees around you, things that are flying your way all the time, or setting aside blocks of time where you can sequester those reactive elements away, so you can have concentrated time where you are thinking creatively about your life, thinking creatively about what you want to make real in the world in some way. This particular skill, the reactive creative balance and the line between them, is a game changer. I guarantee it, for you. And it is a skill. You will have to learn how to do it. Your mind will automatically move toward reactivity on its own. That's where the gravity, that the ball will roll down that hill toward reactivity every time, unless you make conscious choices to stay in a creative space. But you can make those choices, and you can develop that skill so that you stay in creative space, in that creative mindset, more often than not. And the more often you spend in that creative space, the more productive you are, the more creative you are, the more that you are able to make something happen in the world, to be the actor on the world rather than the reactor to what's happening to you. So that's the thing I wanted to share with you today on Identity Matters, is that two mindsets: reactive mindset, proactive, creative mindset, and how you can learn the skill to move from reactive to creative all the time in your life. Thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next Identity Matters.